just fix my hair. Or anyone else's mugs and glasses just constantly stained with lipstick marks. Hi there and welcome to this channel. I thought I would start this channel as an introduction to and help with the RICS APC. Now, I am currently preparing my written submission for the APC. Oh, seagulls. Sorry, I live in Brighton. The seagulls rule the roost here. I am currently preparing for my bedtime. I am currently preparing my written submission for my RICS APC, submitting in spring 2021. And whilst I've been going through the process of writing my APC written documents, I found there's not a lot of resources online available to help people with this. There's lots available from the RICS and other sort of formal sources like that, but I feel like there's not really a lot of people telling their personal stories of going through the APC and preparing it, because it's hard and it's important that we all share in it. And, you know, if you have any tips, help a sister out. So whilst I haven't actually finished yet, I haven't become a chartered member of the RICS, in these final few months I thought I would just let you into how I'm preparing, talk about it, talk about my revision, talk about the written submission. Am I procrastinating from my revision? I'll let you be the judge. So I have got my notes, I have got my cup of tea. So yeah, grab a drink, grab a notebook, grab a pen, and let's get to it. Okay, so first of all, what is the APC? Now, the APC stands for the Assessment of Professional Competence that is set by the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. How embarrassing would it be if I got that wrong? The APC shows the standard of professionalism within the profession of the built environment. It is the gold mark, it's top level. In my view, if you work in the built environment, you should be looking to achieve your APC at some point within your career. Thought we'd switch locations because the lighting's better over here. So there are many routes to achieving chartered membership of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. So first of all, there is the most popular one, which is the one that I'm on, which is the structured training route. Now, this will vary depending on your level of experience. If you have, I believe it's more than 5 years relevant practical experience within the field, then you can apply for the 12-month structured training route. And if you have less experience than this, as I do, then you will apply for the 24-month structured training route. And it is what it says. It is a structured training period of 1 or 2 years. And over this period of time, you need to learn roughly, I think it's about 20 competencies, but these will depend varying on your pathway, which I'll come to in a moment. And at the end of your 12 or 24 months, you will submit a written submission and then sit a formal assessment. So what does it involve? So the written submission, as I mentioned, is the culmination of your structured training. So you will write a summary of experience talking about how you have achieved the levels required within the competencies over your 12 or 24-month period of training. Now, that sounds like quite a lot, but really when you break it down, it's not too bad. And there's loads of really useful information about this on the RICS website, which I'll link below. So on every single pathway, there will be mandatory competencies. And the RICS says that these are the competencies required by any professional who's looking to set up a business, particularly within the built environment. So these are things such as accounting principles, business planning, team working, diversity, inclusion, sustainability, things like that, that you just have to show that you have a base knowledge of. And that is the same across all the pathways. Now, there are, I'm not actually too sure how many, I would guess around 15, but don't quote me on that. There are numerous different pathways that you can be enrolled upon depending on the sector that you work in. So me personally, I'm on the planning and development pathway because as a town planner, that reflects best what I do in my day-to-day practice. So within the planning and development pathway, there are then set technical competencies that I have to meet, and these are level 3 of planning and development appraisals, level 2 valuation and legal and regulatory compliance. There's level 1 mapping, and I can't remember what my other level 1s are. But these will all differ depending on the pathways, but everyone has to meet the mandatory competencies. Now, I mentioned levels there, and each of the competencies is measured by a level. So level 1 is learning. Now, this could be, I did a course at university or a module at university that taught me this. I did some background reading. I had to take a course at work that meant that I've met level 1 health and safety, because I now know how to set up my desk properly, and I now know not to run towards the fire when it's happening. Level 2 is doing, and these are the things that you'll be doing in your day-to-day tasks. So for me, level 2 would be an example of a development appraisal. I wrote out a feasibility report which included a development appraisal for the client that I had written for them. Easy. That is something that I do in my day-to-day job. Now, level 3, you are expected to have further in-depth knowledge of this, and you are expected to advise your client. So for me, I have to achieve level 3 of development appraisals. So I would say I have written out a report for the client which included my development appraisal, and I advised them on the next steps appropriate to progress with the project based on the appraisal that I have written, which is included as an appendix to this report. So do you see, I'm not just doing the task, I am offering my professional advice based on the work that I have done. And that's what they want to see. They want to see that you have enough knowledge, that you feel confident enough to give your professional advice on a subject. So that's an overview of the summary of experience. The case study is what it says. It is an example of a piece of work or a project that you have done over your 12 or 24 month structured training route that encompasses your competencies. So as I say, for me, I'm doing the planning and development pathway. So these are the 2 competencies that I have to really demonstrate that I am a specialist in. So I've chosen a project where I've been an advisor on both the planning matters and the development appraisal of the site. So that is the format that my case study is taking, but you also need to show that you're meeting your other competencies in it. I don't think it's necessary to meet every single one of the competencies. Are you necessarily going to meet business planning in your, maybe, I don't. You probably would, actually, thinking about it now, but that's included within Appendix A, which we'll come back to in a later video, because Appendix A of the case study is vital. So your case study is around 4,000 words, and it has to demonstrate your in-depth knowledge of a project. You need to know this inside out. They will ask you everything. Anything you could think of. What were the heads of terms on the 1987 sublease within the site to XYZ person, because my site has a sublease within it. I need to know that. I need to know when that lease expired. I need to know even though I don't do leasing or anything like that, I need to know about all of the legal situations around the site. I need to know about every planning implication there could be of the site. You need to know everything. Which leads me on to the third part of the assessment, which is final assessment. So you will be taken, oh, that sounds really ominous, doesn't it? You will sit a 1 hour interview. Now within that 1 hour, you will have a 10-minute slot to present your case study to them. And the assessors, will be 2 to 3 of them. The assessors will ask you questions about your case study. And after that, they will ask you questions about everything else. So just focusing on the case study for a moment, they will ask you everything about that case study. Why did you do this? What alternatives could you have taken? What did you think about while you were doing that? Did you consider this? Or they probably wouldn't ask anything as leading as that, actually. So as I say, you need to know your case study inside out and be prepared for the grilling that comes. And what I'm most worried about is what comes after that is they can ask you anything about anything you've done over the last 2 years, any of the CPD sessions you've attended, any of the structured training you've done, all of the competencies. They could ask you what legislation preceded the GDPR and what year did it come in the UK, because you need to know that for your data management competency. There's a lot to learn. I'm going to show you my holy grail. This book here is my Bible. It has everything I need to know in it. It has got sections on all of the different competencies, sections on my case study, my written submission, my summary of experience. It's got meeting notes from my supervisor and my counsellor. It's got example submissions in there. Over the next 6 months, if my house was burning down, this would be the thing that I would go for. Don't tell my partner that. There's a lot to learn, but don't let it put you off. Don't be overwhelmed. There's a lot to learn, but there's also quite a long time to learn it, which leads me on to my next point, which is ethics. Now, ethics is the only of the mandatory competencies that is level 3. So it's important. And ethics is also the only thing that they will refer you on if you don't get the question right. So within your interview, they can ask you a question about ethics. The second question of the interview, you get it wrong, and you know you got it wrong, they will refer you straight away, but you still have to sit there for 45 unbearable minutes. It's important to know ethics. So the way I've learned ethics is just drip feeding it over the last year and a half, I would say, just constantly doing little bits, reading about it all the time. I've got my flashcards that I just look at occasionally. I ask my boyfriend to ask me questions about ethics. It's just, there's no way around it. You've got to learn it, and it's got to stick in your brain, and it's going to be in my brain, and I will probably sing the rules for firms on my 70th birthday or something, you know, but at least I'll know it in that 1 hour interview session. Okay, so another point to touch on is who is involved with the APC. Now, of course, there's you, the candidate, but you will also have to have a counsellor. And a counsellor has to be someone who is an RICS Chartered Surveyor, a member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. And then you can also have a supervisor. So my supervisor is my line manager at work, and he completed his APC a couple of years ago in the same pathway as I did. So we're in a really good position in that he is able to advise me from his own personal recent experience. And then my counsellor is someone else that I work with who also completed the planning and development pathway of the APC, but a little bit longer ago. So the three of us, we're a really good little team, actually. We work well together, which is a really good thing, because whilst this is your APC and you need to take charge and you need to be the one organising the meetings, you need to make sure that your counsellor is good. You need to make sure that they're going to turn up for meetings. You need to make sure that they're going to read the material that you send them. Obviously, you need to be respectful and give them enough time to read the material, because they're busy people. If you're not putting the work in, they're not going to force you to. They've got plenty of other stuff going on. So you need to find a good counsellor. Like I say, I'm lucky. I got mine through work because I work in a property company. So there are lots of people who are RICS accredited. But the RICS does have a really helpful tool on its website for finding counsellors, which I will link in the description box below. I would also say it's important to have good people around you in your personal life, especially while you're going through the final assessment part. There's going to be times where you're going to get invited out to the pub at the weekend, or, you know, I don't want to say a birthday party you have to miss, but it might have to come to that. You know, this is hard and it's time consuming. And if your friend says, oh, do you want to go out on Saturday afternoon? It's supposed to be a really nice day. We can go and sit in the pub garden. Obviously, this is all pre-COVID. Then you have to be able to say, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm revising, or I have to make these edits to my case study that my counsellor suggested. And people have to understand that this is important. And yes, it's time consuming, but it's only a small portion of your life in the grand scheme of things. The way I see it is it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So I think that's about it, really, as an introduction to the APC. It's, you know, it's hard, but in my view, it's worth it. The doors it opens, the opportunities you get, the respect you get just from being able to write those 5 little letters after your name on an email. It opens opportunities to work abroad, because the RICS is recognised in so many countries across the world. It opens working opportunities at home. If you're UK based, then firms will take you very seriously. If you are RICS Chartered Surveyor, the way I view it is it's hard work, and at the moment putting in a lot of man hours to it. But the way I see it is it's January 2021. The UK is in national lockdown. Well, we're about to be. Depends what Boris says to us tonight. But where I live at the moment is essentially lockdown. There's nothing else going on. I might as well be doing this or just sitting, scrolling my phone, watching Bridgerton. I would quite like to watch Bridgerton right now. 2. I've forgotten my second point. 2, it comes back to what I was saying. Short-term pain for long-term gain. It's hard, but you know what? You've done it before. You did your degree, you did your dissertation, if you did a dissertation, and you've tackled all of those challenges that have ever come at you at work. You can do this. It just feels hard because you're doing it outside of work. You feel like you might be on your own, but you're not on your own. There's always people who are doing the RICS, and there are always people doing it alongside work, and always people who are finding it really, really bloody hard, like me. So yeah, I just thought I would put this out there and see if there's a community of people who want to support each other through this. I'm going to make some more videos in my preparation for my submission about tips for revising, for completing the written submission, for how I fit this all into my life, and just general work hard, get good results, good vibes, good life. But yeah, if this is something that you feel like you want to be involved in, leave me a comment, subscribe, like this video. And yeah, we're going to build a really nice little community of hopefully soon chartered surveyors here.